My sister demanded I sing at her graduation party 8 weeks after vocal cord surgery that could end my career. I gave her the celebration she will never forget. My sister Bridget ruined my Juilliard audition when I was 17. She was 19 and already the family favorite. The night before my audition, she told our parents I'd been sneaking out to parties. Total lie. Mom grounded me, took my car keys, said I could take the bus to the audition in the morning. Except she forgot to leave bus money. By the time I walked the 8 miles to the audition venue, I was 2 hours late. They wouldn't let me perform. That scholarship was my only shot at music school. Mom said it was my fault for being irresponsible. Bridget just shrugged and said maybe it was a sign I should pick a more practical career. I ended up at community college working 3 jobs to pay for voice lessons on the side. But here's the thing about starting from the bottom. You learn to fight for every opportunity. I spent 6 years grinding. Singing at weddings for $200, recording demos in sketchy studios, teaching kids music classes at the YMCA. I uploaded covers to YouTube every week. Nothing fancy, just me and a keyboard in my apartment. One of those covers went viral. 4 million views in a month. A talent scout reached out. Suddenly I'm singing backup for actual touring artists. Then I'm doing my own small venues. Then bigger ones. Last year I signed with a real label. My debut album comes out next month. The advance was $400,000. I bought a house. Meanwhile, Bridget became exactly what our parents wanted. Dental degree, suburban house, 2 kids, husband who manages a bank. She got $80,000 from our parents for her wedding. They gave me a $50 gift card. I didn't complain. Just kept building my career. Haven't been to a family event in 3 years. Bridget never called to congratulate me on the record deal. Neither did Mom. Then 2 months ago, I had vocal cord surgery. Polyps from years of overuse. Doctor said no singing for 12 weeks minimum or I could permanently damage my voice. I'm 8 weeks into recovery. Can't even hum without pain. Posted about it online so my fans would know why I'm not performing. Got thousands of supportive messages, not one from family. Then last week, Bridget calls. First time hearing from her in literally 18 months. Doesn't ask about my surgery. Doesn't ask about my album. She's getting her MBA and the graduation party is next month. She wants me to sing at it. Not just any song. She wants me to perform her favorite song, the one that went viral, in front of all her classmates. It would mean so much to have my famous sister perform, she says. I reminded her I just had surgery. Can't sing for another month minimum. She literally laughed. Come on, one song won't hurt. You sing for strangers all the time, but not for your own sister? I said I physically cannot sing right now. Doctor's orders. She said I was being selfish and jealous of her achievements. Then Mom called an hour later. Your sister worked so hard for this degree. The least you can do is support her. I told her about the surgery again. She said I was exaggerating, that I could surely manage one song if I really wanted to, that Bridget already told all her friends I'd be performing, that I was embarrassing the family by being difficult. The calls haven't stopped. Every single day. Mom, Bridget, even Bridget's husband, Justin. Just lip sync if you have to. Take some throat lozenges. Stop punishing Bridget for being successful. The entitlement was insane. They wanted me to risk my entire career, my voice, my livelihood, for Bridget's party. The same sister who destroyed my chance at music school. Yesterday I'd had enough. I called my friend Luis, who's also my manager. Told him I needed him to come with me to handle some family business. He knows my history with them. Didn't even hesitate. We drove 6 hours to Bridget's city. The graduation party was today. Big fancy country club. Probably cost 20 grand. We walked in just as Bridget was giving some speech about her journey and accomplishments. She saw me and her face lit up. Actually announced to everyone that her sister, the recording artist, had arrived to perform. The whole room turned to look at me. 200 people. All her classmates, professors, husbands, colleagues. Mom was beaming like she'd organized the whole thing. I walked straight to the microphone. Bridget handed it to me, already pulling up the backing track on her phone. Thank you, Bridget, I said, voice echoing through the speakers. But I won't be singing today. Or ever for your events. See? When someone sabotages your Juilliard audition at 17, lies to get you grounded the night before, and cost you your only shot at music school, you learn not to sacrifice your career for them. Especially when they demand you sing 8 weeks after vocal surgery that could end your career if you damage it further. But congratulations on your MBA. The color drained from her face. Mom walked toward me and slapped me hard. The security guard got between me and Mom before she could swing again. Luis grabbed my arm and pulled me back from the microphone. The whole country club went silent. 200 people staring at us. Bridget's face turned from white to bright red. Her mouth opened, but nothing came out. I could hear her MBA classmates whispering to each other. One of them had their phone up recording. Luis kept his hand on my shoulder and guided me toward the exit. My legs felt shaky, but I kept walking. The crowd parted as we moved through. Someone gasped. A woman put her hand over her mouth. Bridget's husband Justin stood frozen by the bar with his drink halfway to his lips. Mom started yelling something behind us, but Luis didn't let me stop. We pushed through the double doors and into the lobby. The country club manager stood there looking confused. Luis didn't slow down. He led me straight through the front entrance and into the parking lot. The cool air hit my face and my hands started shaking. Really shaking. Like I couldn't control them at all. Luis unlocked his car and opened the passenger door. I got in and my whole body started trembling. He closed the door and ran around to the driver's side. My phone buzzed in my purse. Then again. Then again. Non-stop buzzing. Luis reached over and took my purse. He pulled out my phone and turned it off. The screen went dark. He handed me a water bottle from the cup holder. I tried to open it, but my hands were shaking too much. He took it back and opened it for me. I drank some water. My cheek hurt where Mom hit me. The skin felt hot and tight. Luis started the car and pulled out of the parking lot. I looked back at the country club building. People were coming out the front doors. Bridget stood there with her arms crossed. Mom was next to her, pointing at Luis's car. We turned onto the main road and they disappeared from view. Luis drove for an hour before either of us said anything. I stared out the window watching the highway signs go by. Trees and buildings and gas stations. My face still hurt. My throat felt tight even though I hadn't tried to talk or sing. Luis kept glancing over at me every few minutes, making sure I was okay. The sun started setting and the sky turned orange and pink. I thought about what I'd just done. Standing up in front of all those people and telling them what Bridget did. What Mom did. Years of staying quiet and taking it, and now everyone knew. Bridget's classmates knew. Her professors knew. Her husband's work friends knew. I spoke my truth after all this time. But my face hurt, and I could already imagine the calls coming. The texts. The voicemails. Mom screaming at me. Bridget calling me horrible names. Dad probably wouldn't call at all. Just like always. Luis reached over and squeezed my hand for a second, then put his hand back on the wheel. The highway stretched out in front of us. Still 5 hours to go until we got home. We stopped at a rest area halfway home. Luis needed gas and I needed to use the bathroom. My legs felt stiff from sitting. I walked into the rest stop building. Fluorescent lights buzzed overhead. The bathroom was empty. I went into a stall and then came out to wash my hands. That's when I saw my reflection in the mirror. A red mark covered my left cheek. Bright red like someone had painted it there. The edges were starting to turn purple. A bruise forming. I touched it gently and winced. It hurt worse than I thought. The door opened and an older woman came in. She glanced at me and her eyes went straight to my cheek. Her expression changed. Concerned. Worried. I looked away and dried my hands. Luis was waiting outside the bathroom. He saw my face and his jaw tightened. He pulled out his phone and held it up. I didn't understand at first. Then he pointed at my cheek. He wanted to take a picture. Documentation. Evidence. I nodded. He took 3 photos from different angles. The flash made me blink. He put his phone away without saying why he wanted the photos. We both knew, though, just in case. We got back in the car and drove the rest of the way home. Luis pulled into my driveway at midnight. The house was dark. I'd left in such a hurry yesterday I forgot to leave any lights on. Luis turned off the engine but didn't move to get out. He looked at me in the dim light from the street lamp. Told me he was staying in the guest room. Didn't ask. Just told me. I was grateful. The adrenaline from the party was wearing off and I felt exhausted. Heavy. Like my body weighed twice as much as normal. We went inside and I showed Luis where the guest room was. Fresh sheets already on the bed from the last time he stayed over. He said goodnight and closed the door. I went to my room and sat on the edge of my bed. Still in the dress I'd worn to the party. My phone was still off in my purse. I didn't turn it back on. Didn't want to see the messages yet. My cheek throbbed. I touched it again and the pain shot through my jaw. I got up and looked in my bathroom mirror. The bruise looked worse now. Darker purple spreading across my cheekbone. I took off my dress and put on sweatpants and a t-shirt. Washed my face carefully around the bruise. Brushed my teeth. Went to bed. But I couldn't sleep. Just stared at the ceiling thinking about what I'd done. What happened next. What this meant for my family. For my career. For everything. I woke up to sunlight coming through my bedroom window. My phone was still off. I turned it on and waited for it to boot up. The screen lit up and notifications started flooding in. Missed calls, text messages, voicemails. The numbers kept climbing. 47 missed calls. Most from numbers I didn't recognize. Some from Bridget. Some from Mom. Some from Justin. I opened my texts. Bridget had sent me a long message at 2 a.m. Every horrible name she could think of. Calling me jealous and bitter and pathetic. Saying I ruined her special day because I couldn't stand seeing her succeed. That I was a failure who blamed everyone else for my problems. That I should be ashamed of myself. I deleted it without finishing. Mom left a voicemail. I played it on speaker. Her voice was cold and angry, said I was no longer welcome at family events, that I embarrassed them in front of important people, that Bridget worked hard for her MBA and I couldn't even be supportive for one day, that she was ashamed to call me her daughter. The voicemail ended. I sat there holding my phone. My cheek still hurts. The bruise probably looked worse today. I got up and went to the kitchen. Luis was already making breakfast. Eggs and toast. Coffee brewing in the pot. He looked up when I came in, asked how I slept. I told him not great. He nodded like he expected that. Poured me a cup of coffee. We sat at the kitchen table and ate. I showed him some of the messages. The texts from Bridget, the voicemail from Mom. He read them carefully. His face got hard when he finished. He said we should document everything. Save all the messages. Keep the photos of my bruise. The slap happened in front of 200 witnesses. If this got worse or if they tried to do something legally, we had evidence. I wasn't sure I wanted to go that route. Taking legal action against my own mother felt wrong even after everything. But Luis said we should be prepared just in case. Have everything documented and organized. I agreed. We spent the next hour screenshotting messages and organizing files, creating a timeline of events, writing down what happened at the party while it was fresh in my mind. Luis was thorough, professional. This was why he was such a good manager. My phone rang at 9 in the morning. Unknown number. I almost didn't answer, but Luis nodded at me. I picked up. A woman's voice. Professional. She said her name was Natalia and she was my publicist. I'd forgotten the label assigned me a publicist last month. We'd only talked once. She asked if I'd seen what was happening online. I said no. She told me a video of the confrontation was circulating. Someone at the party filmed the whole thing. Me at the microphone telling everyone what Bridget did. Mom slapping me, Luis pulling me away. The video was posted last night and already had thousands of views, thousands of shares. People were commenting, talking about it. Natalia said she was coming over to talk about damage control. Asked for my address. I gave it to her. She said she'd be there in 2 hours. The call ended. Luis and I looked at each other. A video. Of course someone filmed it. Everyone has their phones out at parties now, recording everything. I felt sick. Not because I regretted what I said, but because now it was out there forever. No taking it back. No pretending it didn't happen. Natalia showed up exactly 2 hours later. She was younger than I expected, maybe 30. Dressed professionally in a blazer and nice jeans. She had a laptop bag over her shoulder. Luis let her in, and we sat in my living room. She opened her laptop and pulled up the video. Asked if I wanted to watch it. I said yes. She turned the screen toward me and pressed play. There I was walking up to the microphone. Bridget handing it to me with this huge smile. Then my voice coming through the speakers, telling everyone about the Juilliard audition, about the sabotage, about the surgery, about risking my career. The camera shook a little but caught everything. Bridget's face going pale, Mom walking toward me, the slap, the sound of it echoed in my quiet living room. Luis pulling me back, the crowd's reaction, gasps and whispers. The video ended. Natalia closed the laptop. She looked at me and said this might actually help my career instead of hurting it. I stared at her. She explained that people were responding with overwhelming support. The comments were calling Bridget and Mom out for their behavior, praising me for standing up to family pressure, talking about how brave I was, how real. The video had 500,000 views now. Major music blogs were picking up the story, writing articles. Natalia pulled up her phone and showed me some headlines. She said we should lean into this moment, release a statement that's honest about my family situation and my vocal recovery. Turn this into part of my artist story instead of trying to hide it or downplay it. I sat down with Natalia and Luis at my kitchen table, laptop open between us. Natalia pulled up a blank document and asked me to tell her everything I wanted people to know. I started with the Juilliard audition, how Bridget lied to get me grounded, how Mom took my car keys and forgot bus money, walking 8 miles in the cold, missing my only shot at music school. Natalia typed while I talked. Then I told her about the surgery, the polyps, doctor's orders for 12 weeks of no singing, how I'm only 8 weeks into recovery, how singing now could permanently damage my voice, how Bridget called after 18 months of silence demanding I perform, how the whole family pressured me for days. Natalia kept typing. Luis added details I'd forgotten. The daily phone calls, Justin's suggestion to lip sync, Mom saying I was exaggerating. When I finished talking, Natalia read the statement back to us. It was perfect. Direct, honest, no drama, just facts. She asked if I wanted to add anything. I said no. She posted it on my social media accounts. All of them. Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. We sat there watching the screen refresh. The first like came within seconds, then 10 more, then 50. Comments started rolling in. People saying they supported me. Other musicians sharing their own family stories. Fans saying they understood why I couldn't perform. Within 20 minutes, we had 5,000 likes. 30 minutes, 15,000. An hour later, 50,000 likes and counting. The comments kept coming. Thousands of them. Artists I admired were sharing my post. Music blogs were picking it up. Natalia smiled and said this was going exactly as she hoped. My phone started ringing. Unknown numbers. Natalia told me not to answer. She'd handle all media requests. Luis made coffee while we watched the numbers climb. Then my email dinged. Natalia opened it on her laptop. A journalist named Augustine Parks wanted to interview me. Natalia knew his work. He wrote for a major music magazine. Long profiles about artists. Deep dives into their careers and personal stories. Not gossip stuff. Real journalism. She pulled up some of his past articles. They were good. Thoughtful. The kind of pieces that made you understand an artist better. Natalia said this could be huge for my album launch. Turn my personal story into part of my artist brand. Show people the journey from sabotaged audition to record deal. She asked if I was comfortable doing it. I said yes. She replied to Augustine right there. Set up a phone interview for 2 days later. Luis refilled our coffee cups. My phone rang again. This time I recognized the number. Dad. I stared at the screen. Natalia nodded at me. I answered. Dad's voice sounded different from I remembered. Quieter. He said he saw my post. Read the whole thing. He wanted me to know he was sorry. For everything. For all the years of not standing up for me. I didn't say anything. Just listened. He told me he always knew Bridget lied about me sneaking out before the Juilliard audition. He knew I wasn't at parties. Knew I was home studying and practicing. But he didn't want to cause family conflict by saying so. Didn't want to upset Mom or make Bridget look bad. So he stayed silent. Let me take the blame. Let me lose my scholarship chance. My throat felt tight. Not from surgery. From anger. I told Dad his silence enabled Bridget's behavior, that it hurt me just as much as Mom's active favoritism. That watching him stay quiet all those years made me feel invisible. Like I didn't matter enough to defend. Dad got quiet on the other end. Then he asked if we could meet for coffee. Just the two of us. Talk things through properly. I was surprised. Dad never asked to meet one-on-one. Never tried to have real conversations. I said maybe. I'd think about it. He said he understood. Asked me to call him when I was ready. The call ended. Luis squeezed my shoulder. Natalia closed her laptop and said she'd be in touch about the Augustine interview. She left around noon. Luis stayed. We ordered food and watched TV without really watching it. My mind kept spinning. 2 days later, I did the phone interview with Augustine. It lasted 2 hours. He asked about everything. Growing up with Bridget. The Juilliard audition. Community college and 3 jobs. Years of grinding. YouTube covers. The viral video. Getting signed. The surgery. The graduation party confrontation. I told him things I'd never shared publicly. Details about those early years. How broke I was. How many times I almost quit. How much the music meant to me. Augustine listened. Really listened. Asked good follow-up questions. Made me feel heard. When we finished, he said the article would run in 3 weeks, right before my album dropped. Perfect timing. That same afternoon, my phone rang. Dr. Campbell's office. Scheduling my 10-week checkup. The receptionist gave me a date and time. I wrote it down. Hung up. Then I noticed my throat felt tight. Painful in a way it hadn't been before. Not from talking on the phone. Just constant tension. I'd been unconsciously clenching my jaw, tensing my neck muscles. The stress of everything was showing up physically. I touched my throat gently. It hurt. I called Luis and told him. He said I needed to mention it at the checkup. Make sure it wasn't affecting my recovery. The appointment came. Dr. Campbell did his usual examination. Looked at my vocal cords with the scope. Said the healing was progressing well. No complications. But then he felt my neck and shoulders. Asked me to swallow. Watched my throat move. He said I was carrying a lot of tension. Physical stress that could slow my recovery or cause other problems. He wrote down a name and number. A voice therapist named Finn, who specialized in helping singers recover from surgery and manage performance anxiety. Dr. Campbell said Finn could teach me techniques to release the tension. I took the paper. Called Finn's office from the parking lot. Got an appointment for the next day. When I showed up, Finn was younger than I expected. Maybe early 30s. Calm voice, easy smile. His studio was small and warm, comfortable chairs, soft lighting. He asked me to sit and tell him what was going on. I explained the surgery, the family confrontation, the viral video, the constant phone calls and messages, how my throat felt tight and painful even though the vocal cords were healing. Finn nodded like he'd heard this before. He said emotional stress manifests as physical tension in the throat and neck, especially for singers. Our voices are tied to our emotions. When we're stressed or upset, we unconsciously tighten those muscles. It's protective, but it can interfere with healing. He had me stand up, put one hand on my stomach and one on my chest, taught me breathing exercises, deep breaths from the diaphragm, slow exhales. We did it for 10 minutes. Then he showed me gentle vocal warm-ups. Nothing that would strain my healing chords. Just humming at low volumes, sliding between notes carefully, releasing tension bit by bit. For the first time in days, my throat started to feel less tight, less painful. The pressure eased. Finn scheduled me for twice weekly sessions, said we'd work on both the physical tension and the emotional stress driving it. I left feeling lighter, got home and found a new voicemail. Justin, Bridget's husband. His voice was angry, loud. He said I ruined Bridget's celebration, made her look bad in front of her colleagues, that she was devastated and humiliated, that I was a selfish attention seeker who couldn't let her have one special day. The voicemail went on for 2 minutes, every word dripping with anger. I played it for Luis when he came over that evening. His jaw clenched. His protective instincts kicked in hard. He wanted to call Justin back, tear into him, defend me. I put my hand on his arm, told him to let it go. Engaging would only make things worse, give them more ammunition, more reasons to play victim. Luis didn't like it, but he agreed. Deleted Justin's number from my phone so I wouldn't be tempted to respond. The next day, my phone started blowing up with notifications like crazy. The video hit 2 million views overnight. My social media was full of messages from people I didn't know. Reporters, journalists, TV producers, everyone wanted to talk about what happened at the party. Luis came over early that morning with coffee and his laptop. He showed me the numbers. The video was everywhere. Entertainment blogs, music websites, even regular news sites were picking it up. People were sharing it with comments about toxic families and standing up for yourself. The support was overwhelming. Natalia called at 8 a.m. sharp. Her voice was excited but controlled. She had a list. Morning shows wanted me. Podcasts wanted interviews. Entertainment programs were reaching out. She said we needed to be smart about this. Pick the right platform. Tell my story the right way. We spent 2 hours on the phone going through options. Some places just wanted drama. They'd twist my words, make it sensational. Others seemed more interested in the real story. My journey, how I got here. Natalia mentioned a journalist named Augustine. He wrote for a major music magazine, did long profiles on artists, real in-depth pieces about their lives and careers. Not gossip, not clickbait, actual stories. She said he'd reached out specifically, wanted to do a feature on me. I looked him up, read some of his articles. They were good. He let people tell their stories without making them sound fake or dramatic. He asked real questions, got real answers. I told Natalia to set it up. Augustine called me that afternoon. His voice was calm, professional. He explained what he wanted to do, a full profile, my background, the Juilliard story, building my career from nothing, the surgery, the family situation, everything. He said he wanted 2 hours on the phone, maybe more if needed. Just me talking, him listening and asking questions. I agreed. We scheduled it for the next day. When Augustine called, I was nervous, but he made it easy. Started with simple questions. Where I grew up, when I started singing. He didn't rush. Let me talk. Really listened. I told him about being 17, about Bridget lying to get me grounded, about walking 8 miles to that audition and being too late, about Mom saying it was my fault, about Bridget suggesting I pick a different career. He asked how that felt. I told him the truth. It destroyed me. That scholarship was everything. My only way out. My only chance at the life I wanted. When it disappeared, I felt like my future disappeared with it. But then I got angry. Decided I'd prove them all wrong. He asked about community college, about the 3 jobs, the voice lessons I paid for myself, the YouTube covers. I told him about uploading videos every single week for years, how most got maybe 100 views, how I kept going anyway because what else could I do? Then one video hit different, 4 million views in a month. That Scout reaching out, everything changing. Augustine wanted to know about the years between, the grinding, singing at weddings for $200, recording in sketchy studios, teaching kids at the YMCA. I described it all. The exhaustion, the doubt, the moments I almost quit, but also the small wins. The first time someone recognized me from YouTube. The first paid gig that felt real. The first time I sang my own song instead of a cover. We talked about the record deal. The album, the surgery. He asked detailed questions about the polyps, about the recovery process, about what it meant to not be able to sing for 12 weeks. I explained how scary it was, how my voice is my career, my life, everything I worked for. If the surgery didn't work, or if I damaged my cords during recovery, it could all end. Then he asked about Bridget's call, about her demanding I perform. I walked him through every conversation, every guilt trip, every manipulation, Mom saying I was exaggerating, Justin telling me to just take throat lozenges, the complete disregard for my health and career. Augustine asked why I went to the party. I told him I was done being silent, done letting them treat me like I didn't matter, done pretending their behavior was okay. He asked if I regretted it. I said no, not even a little bit. The interview lasted almost 3 hours. When we finished, I felt exhausted, but good. Like I'd finally told the whole story to someone who actually cared about getting it right. A few days later, Dad texted, asked if I'd meet him for coffee. Just the two of us. I stared at that text for a long time. Wasn't sure I wanted to see him. Wasn't sure what he could possibly say that would matter. But I agreed. Picked a coffee shop halfway between our cities. Neutral ground. When I walked in, Dad was already there, sitting at a corner table. He looked older than I remembered. More tired. Gray hair. Lines around his eyes. He stood up when he saw me. Gave me this awkward half hug. We sat down. Ordered coffee. Didn't talk for a minute. Then Dad started. Said he was sorry. That he should have stood up for me years ago. That he took the easy path by going along with Mom. By letting her favor Bridget. By staying quiet when he knew things weren't fair. I just listened. Didn't interrupt. He said watching that video gutted him. Seeing me finally speak up. Seeing Mom slap me. Realizing how badly they'd all failed me. He admitted he always knew Bridget lied about me sneaking out before Juilliard. He knew I wasn't partying. Knew I was home studying and practicing. But he didn't say anything because it would have caused a fight with Mom. Would have made Bridget angry. So he let me take the fall. Let me lose that audition. Let my whole future change because speaking up was too hard. Then he said something that shocked me. He'd been helping pay for my voice lessons. Years ago when I was at community college working 3 jobs, I used to get checks in the mail from someone I thought was a distant aunt. Turns out it was Dad. He'd been sending me money for lessons without telling Mom. Supporting my music in secret while publicly staying silent. I didn't know what to say. Didn't know how to feel. Part of me was grateful. He'd helped when I desperately needed it. But another part was angry. Why hide it? Why not stand up for me openly? Why help in secret but let Mom and Bridget treat me like garbage in public? We talked for 3 hours. Dad explained that Mom always favored Bridget because Bridget did everything the traditional way. College, dental school, marriage, kids, the life Mom wanted for both of us. When I chose music, Mom saw it as rejection, as me being difficult and impractical. Dad said it wasn't fair, wasn't right, but that's how Mom saw it. And he went along with it because fighting Mom was exhausting. I asked him why he was telling me this now. He said because he couldn't stay quiet anymore, couldn't watch me suffer and pretend everything was fine. He asked if there was any way to fix our relationship. I told him the truth, that I appreciated the apology, appreciated knowing about the voice lesson money. But that one conversation didn't undo years of him letting Mom and Bridget hurt me. That if he really wanted to repair things, he needed to actually stand up to them. Not just apologize to me in private. He promised he'd try, said he'd talk to Mom, tell her how wrong she'd been. I wasn't sure I believed him, wasn't sure he'd actually follow through. But I thanked him for meeting me, for being honest. We finished our coffee, hugged goodbye. I drove home feeling weird. Not better exactly, but maybe slightly less alone. 2 weeks later, the Augustine article came out. The headline read, "From Sabotage to Stardom. How one artist turned family betrayal into fuel for success." I read it 3 times. Augustine had captured everything. My voice, my story, the struggle and the determination. He didn't make it dramatic or fake, just told it honestly. Showed how I'd built a career despite everything working against me. The article went viral immediately, shared thousands of times. My social media exploded. People commenting about how inspiring it was, how they related to difficult family situations, how they admired me for not giving up. Within 48 hours, my album pre-orders jumped 300%. My label called ecstatic. They wanted to move the release date up 2 weeks. Capitalize on all this attention, which meant I needed to be ready for promotion sooner than planned. More interviews, more content, more everything. Natalia was already working on it. She booked me for a major morning show, 3 weeks away. Right after my 12-week vocal clearance appointment with Dr. Campbell. If he approved me to sing again, I could perform my single live on national television. The timing was perfect. Scary, but perfect. Then Bridget posted a long rant on her social media, called me a liar, said I made up the Juilliard story for publicity, claimed our family had always supported my music career, that I was twisting things to make myself look like a victim, that she never sabotaged anything. The post was desperate, angry, full of lies that anyone who knew us could see through. But she posted it anyway, probably hoping to control the narrative, make herself look better. It backfired immediately. People started posting old screenshots within 3 hours. One showed Bridget commenting on my YouTube channel 4 years ago, saying my covers were amateur and embarrassing. Another was from her Facebook where she told someone I was wasting my time with music when I should get a real job. A guy who went to high school with us posted that he remembered Bridget bragging about getting me grounded before my Juilliard audition. Said she laughed about it at a party that same week. More people piled on. A girl from Bridget's dental school program shared a story about Bridget stealing her research notes and passing them off as her own work. Someone from her MBA program posted about Bridget throwing a classmate under the bus during a group project to make herself look better. The receipts kept coming, screenshots, photos, detailed stories with dates and witnesses. Every hour brought new evidence that Bridget was exactly who I said she was. Her desperate post trying to call me a liar only made people dig deeper into her past. The comments on her original post turned brutal, people calling her out for lying, pointing out the contradictions, asking why she never mentioned supporting my music career if she was such a great sister. Her attempt to control the story blew up in her face completely. By evening, someone had compiled all the evidence into a Twitter thread that went viral on its own. The thread had screenshots of Bridget's mean comments about my music, testimony from people who knew about the Juilliard sabotage, and stories from her classmates about her entitled behavior. It got shared thousands of times. My phone buzzed with a voicemail notification around 8 p.m. Mom's voice came through the speaker, angry and shaky at the same time. She said I needed to make a public statement defending Bridget immediately. Said I was tearing the family apart and destroying Bridget's reputation. That I needed to tell everyone I made it all up, or exaggerated, or misunderstood what happened. She said this media circus had to stop, and it was my responsibility to fix it. I deleted the voicemail without responding. Luis sat across from me at my kitchen table with his laptop open. We spent the next 2 hours mapping out my promotional schedule for the album. He built in extra rest time between commitments, scheduled shorter interview sessions, made sure nothing would strain my voice before I was fully healed. We planned content I could create without singing. Behind-the-scenes videos, Q&A sessions, photo shoots for the album artwork. Luis understood my limitations and worked around them instead of pushing me to do more than I could handle. 3 days later, I met Finn at his studio for our first session together. He had me do gentle humming exercises that felt strange after weeks of silence. We worked on breathing techniques that released the tension in my neck and shoulders. He watched my posture carefully and corrected small things that would help my voice heal properly. Finn said my discipline impressed him. Most singers push too hard too fast and set back their recovery. He told me my voice would come back stronger than before because I was learning proper technique during the healing process. We started meeting 3 times a week, each session built on the last one. Gentle exercises that gradually increased in difficulty. Finn monitored everything closely and adjusted based on how my throat felt each day. My 11-week checkup with Dr. Campbell happened on a Tuesday morning. He examined my vocal cords with the scope and nodded while looking at the images on his screen. Said the healing looked excellent. No inflammation or complications. If everything stayed this good at the 12-week mark, he would clear me to start singing again with some limitations. Short performances only for the first month after clearance. Nothing too demanding on my voice. I spent my days doing promotional work that didn't require singing. A photographer came to my house for an album cover shoot. We tried different outfits and lighting setups for 6 hours. I recorded video content for social media, talked about my creative process and the stories behind each song. Did written interviews with music blogs and magazines. The forced vocal rest actually helped me develop other parts of my artist brand. I learned to communicate about my music in new ways. My phone rang while I was editing photos for Instagram. Dad's number showed on the screen. I answered and he sounded tired. He told me he confronted Mom about everything. About the Juilliard incident and how she treated me over the years compared to Bridget. Said it didn't go well and they were barely speaking now. But he finally said what needed to be said even though it caused a huge fight. I thanked him for standing up for me. Then I told him the truth. That one conversation didn't undo years of him letting Mom and Bridget hurt me while he stayed quiet. That appreciation wasn't the same as forgiveness. He said he understood. Asked if we could have regular coffee meetings to rebuild our relationship slowly. Actually work on fixing things instead of just apologizing. I agreed to try. The 12-week checkup arrived on a Thursday morning. Dr. Campbell did a thorough examination that took almost an hour. He checked my vocal cords from multiple angles. Had me do gentle vocal exercises while he monitored. Reviewed all my progress notes from Finn. Then he smiled and said my vocal cords had healed beautifully with no complications. He officially cleared me to start singing again with gradual increases in intensity over the next month. I could do short performances but needed to avoid anything too demanding for another 4 weeks after that. I started crying right there in the doctor's office. Not sad crying. Relief crying. The kind where you can't stop because you've been holding your breath for 3 months waiting to hear those words. Luis stood up from his chair and hugged me while Dr. Campbell smiled and printed out my clearance paperwork. My voice was coming back. I could sing again. Dr. Campbell reminded me to take it slow and gave me a list of restrictions for the next month. No performances longer than 30 minutes. No screaming or shouting. Plenty of water and rest between sessions. I nodded and wiped my face with the tissue he handed me. Luis drove me straight to Finn's studio because I'd already texted him the good news, and he wanted to start working with me immediately. Finn had cleared his afternoon schedule just for this. He met us at the door with the biggest grin and led me into the practice room where he'd set up recording equipment, just in case my voice sounded good enough to capture. Luis sat on the couch against the wall while Finn and I stood near the piano. Finn started with the gentlest warm-up exercises, humming first, then simple scales. My throat felt tight from nerves, but the sound that came out was clear. Different from before, but in a good way. Finn's eyes widened and he gestured for me to keep going. We moved through progressively harder exercises and my voice felt stronger with each one. The surgery had removed the polyps that caused strain for years. The proper technique I learned during recovery gave me better control. My tone was clearer and richer than it had been before the surgery. Finn recorded everything and played it back for me. I barely recognized my own voice. It sounded professional, polished, like the voice of someone who'd actually made it. Luis was grinning from the couch, and Finn kept saying he couldn't believe how good I sounded after just getting clearance. We spent 2 hours in that studio, and by the end I was singing actual songs. Short ones with careful breath control, but real songs with lyrics and emotion. Finn recorded video of me performing, and the footage looked incredible. Natural and raw and real. Natalia called while we were watching the playback, and I put her on speaker. She wanted to post the video immediately with a caption about resilience and healing. I agreed and sent her the file. She had it posted within 20 minutes. The response was immediate and overwhelming. Hundreds of comments flooded in within the first hour. Thousands of likes and shares. People saying they were crying watching me sing again. Other artists commenting with support and congratulations. Fans sharing their own stories of overcoming setbacks. The video hit 100,000 views by that evening. Finn scheduled 3 extra sessions with me over the next week to help me build strength safely. The morning show performance was in 5 days, and we needed to make sure I was ready. I practiced my single every day with Finn monitoring closely to make sure I wasn't pushing too hard. He adjusted my technique in tiny ways that made huge differences, showed me how to support my breath better and reduce tension in my jaw. My voice felt strong, and I was more excited than nervous about performing on national television. This was the moment I'd been working toward for 12 weeks. Dad called on the 4th day before the performance. He sounded uncomfortable, and I knew immediately something was wrong. He told me Bridget had asked him to pass along a message. She wanted to apologize and talk. I stayed quiet and let him finish. He said he'd told Bridget she needed to do serious self-reflection about her behavior, that she couldn't just apologize because the public backlash was affecting her reputation and career. He said he wasn't sure if her desire to talk was genuine or strategic. I thanked Dad for being honest with me. Then I told him I wasn't ready to talk to Bridget and might never be. That some relationships can't be repaired no matter how much someone apologizes. That I was focusing on building the life and career I wanted, rather than fixing a family dynamic that was broken long before the graduation party. Dad said he understood, and that he was proud of me for setting boundaries. We talked for another hour about my upcoming performance and album release. He asked if he could watch the morning show, and I said yes. The morning of the performance, I woke up at 5 and did my vocal warm-ups in the shower. Luis picked me up at 6 and we drove to the studio. Natalia met us there with my outfit and makeup artist. The green room was small but comfortable, and I spent an hour getting ready while reviewing my talking points for the interview portion. The host was friendly when we met backstage and told me she loved my story. Said it would inspire a lot of people. I walked onto the set at 8:30 and the studio audience applauded. The interview lasted 6 minutes, and I talked about the surgery recovery and finding my voice both literally and figuratively. Then I performed my single live with a small band backing me up. My voice was strong and clear, and I hit every note perfectly. The audience gave me a standing ovation. The performance video was posted online immediately after the show ended. It went viral within hours. 5 million views in 24 hours. Comments pouring in from people all over the world. Music blogs and entertainment sites writing articles about my comeback. My phone didn't stop buzzing all day. 2 days later, my album released. I spent release day doing radio interviews and social media promotion. Luis monitored the sales numbers obsessively and kept texting me updates. By the end of the first week, the album had debuted at number 3 on the charts. The highest first-week sales my label had seen from a new artist in years. The combination of my story and the quality of the music and all the publicity had created the perfect launch. My label threw a small celebration at their office, and everyone kept congratulating me. Luis and I went to my favorite restaurant that night to celebrate properly. Just the two of us in a quiet corner booth. He ordered champagne and told me he was proud of how I'd handled everything from the confrontation to the recovery. I realized sitting there that standing up to my family had been terrifying but necessary. It opened doors I didn't know were possible. Gave me permission to stop accepting their treatment and start building something better. 6 months passed. I was on a national tour performing in venues I'd once only dreamed about. Sold-out shows in major cities. Fans singing along to every word. My voice was stronger than ever, and I'd built a career on my own terms without family support or approval. Dad and I met for coffee every few weeks, and our relationship was slowly improving. He'd started standing up to Mom more and setting his own boundaries. But I'd accepted that Mom and Bridget might never be part of my life again. And I was genuinely okay with that. I'd found my own family in Luis and Finn and Natalia, and the fans who supported my music. People who celebrated my success instead of resenting it. Who showed up when I needed them. Who believed in me even when I didn't believe in myself. That was enough.